All right, I am here with Fab Dolan from 99 Ravens. Fab has joined the community, and Fab and I go back a few years. He's ex-Google and has started an AI company of his own. So, Fab, great to see you again. Hope you're doing well. And we're kind of wrapping up the year. Fab and I and Elena sat in on a panel discussion. I think it was February, for God's sakes. What a year.
Yeah,
And here
that feels like 4 years ago at this point, and it was
it
good to
does.
reconnect then and good to reconnect now, Stephen.
It's life in AI time where everything is 14 times what it used to be. All right. Yeah. So we met. God, was it? I think 2018. You were on the board of the
Yeah.
CMA. And I trottled in there with my few slides for the Chartered Marketer Program design. And I do remember, I have a great memory of Gab Janes giving me a document that you had written, just a one pager. And I had just started, and I had gotten in there, and I realized that they had nothing kind of ready, nothing built or designed really yet, right? So I remember taking the Queen streetcar home, thinking, Stephen, you are really in deep S now. But anyway, there was a document that Gab gave me from you. It was an email, I think, and I had just gone through at the U of T taking the word digital out of a lot of their course names or and I was like, it's 2018. What are we teaching? Sundials here? So I remember your recommendation was for the CMA was to not use digital or not make it a digital kind of ghetto.
Yeah, wow, that takes me back. And yeah, you did really sign up to bite off a very big thing there and create an entire curriculum for all of marketing. And it's cool to see that continue though in the AI age as well. So I think you've been working towards this for quite some time, and so hopefully your curriculum does not use the word digital all over the place.
No, and in fact, it's now it's funny because I've been using this line in my talks and when I do speaking or events or talk to people about this, I use the line we're living in the age of the revenge of the liberal arts majors, and I mean that by saying like a generalist a generalist with a liberal arts kind of focus on learning is in many ways going to get the best out of Gen AI now because of their vocabulary, their nuance, their context, right?
Yeah, I love that. I don't know if we're into the regular proceedings, so don't let me hijack the schedule here. But I've been reflecting on that quite a bit recently, just how I come from a background where my dad was a writer by trade. He eventually went into communication strategy and so on, but like originally he's an English major. And so, we came from a household where you would take work to school and your English teacher would give you an A plus, and then you would come
Right.
home and you would get a lot more red ink and corrections. And so much of that training and just learning from my dad was about logic, and it was multidisciplinary. And I feel
Yeah.
so empowered now where you have these tools that can bridge the gap into disciplines that may in the past I was technically not savvy in,
Right.
but now just being able to think through, reason, apply judgment, like these are the skills of the future. And I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, Rebecca Boltzmay, who's a member of the community too, she's writing a lot on LinkedIn about how knowledge has been democratized in many way, and like for example, let's get started here officially. Let's get a little bit of bio from you. We said when we met, but at that time you were at
Yeah, I was at Google. So, I come into AI very much from sort of a frontline marketing role. Started originally General Mills, packaged goods marketing, sort of
right,
classically trained, made the jump to Google. And all of the years at Google were in Canada, the first half working on the Canada marketing team. And then the last tour of duty there was leading Android marketing and go to market globally. And then I left in 2023 like many other Googlers, to sort of pursue AI, seeing the change in the industry and technology, first on the reinforcement learning, so the training side of it and
Right.
human annotation, human data. And then my co-founder, who was still at Google leading their applied AI program. So he's our chief product officer, but more of a builder. He was building tools within Google. We were comparing notes and said, okay, we're seeing the same thing. Let's go build a company. And so we started this company December of last year. So yeah, we just yeah, I have to file my taxes. We're a year into it at this point. Good
Well,
reminder.
congratulations. Congratulations on the new company. I was just on your website. I love it. And it's quite an impressive team too. Um, uh,
It's been fun. It's like it's the kind of thing I like. This is why I always love talking to you, Stephen, and I think you like pull people in like this who really love learning. And that was the like I love our team. Part of it was people along the way. They're like, "There's no chance that he'll quit a job and come join with us. There's no chance she's gonna
right.
like move and come with us." And generally speaking, the people we've been seeing in this industry tend to be the learners, the ones who
Yeah.
can get excited about something. And so, yeah, it is a cool team, and that's the common thread. But I think it's a common thread through the industry as a whole. That and people looking to make a quick buck. So there's two like polar
Yeah.
opposites, all in the same space, and we got to filter for who's who, of course.
Well, and also it's the breadth of the change. I know it's overspoken a lot or like kind of hyped, and we have the whole Gartner hype curve, and we're on wherever we are on that too. But I think you and I are both the kind of people that realize how significant this revolution really is, and it's really, and I did this in my trainings recently too. It's like these are as bad as these tools are ever going to be. Like I think it's important for people to realize that this is literally they're going to speed up and get dramatically better in ways that we haven't really even comprehended yet. The other day, just for example, I was trying to tell people, like with multimodal capabilities and with Claude, like now over computer use, suddenly there's going to be all these questions about what you're going to let your AI agent do. And no one's training you on that, or like if you don't lean into it, you're not going to know the way forward in many ways in this revolution.
Yeah, I think that's the cool part about this phase. Like the initial instinct, and I think we're still in sort of phase one, where the initial instinct is to just take things that were non-AI and do them
Yeah,
in an AI way. So like here's an AI button for a display ad, for a
yeah,
tagline, for a blog, but like largely the whole workflow hasn't changed. We've just added some sort of AI widget to it.
right.
And I think what helps is the more that we start to see different applications of the same underlying technology. So I think you're absolutely right. Like the foundation model builders are continue to make strides, but I think for those working at the application layer, it also just helps that we've had enough at bats that people can see the art of the possible. I think one of the ones from this year that was a breakthrough story is Notebook LM
Yeah,
from
totally.
Google, and it's not like if you really work in it and you're really deep, you can see its flaws and you can see where it's not giving you
Yeah,
great content or the podcast thing is really cringy and not good. And
yeah,
so it warts and all, but just that subtle shift in UI gave
right.
people a break from sort of like the old way of doing things and sort of can imagine this. And now you can transpose that to like, okay, what would that look in sort of this other domain or this other vertical and so on.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're starting to see that. So that's the foundation models are getting better. And then our collective imagination about what's possible with the tools is also going to advance and accelerate.
Well, and that specific example too, I had this opinion about it too. I think the reason why it like got so much attention was Google made a smart move and didn't make it tough to use at all. It was like drag a damn PDF into this window. Like that was literally kind of all you had to do. But then the output being the cheesy like SoCal talk drive, radio drive-through show, right? Was really smart in many ways because that shook up what you were expecting to get out of these tools in a great way, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can take the Googler out of Google, but whatever the phrase is, I was really proud of
Yeah.
them. Like that, the AI moment, like or the Chat GPT moment, really caught Google by surprise. I was in there at the
Yeah,
time.
right,
Not the technology, but just the go-to-market courage that
right,
Chat GPT, OpenAI had, and so on. And so seeing them come out with tools like Notebook LM, seeing them make other advancements as well. I'm proud of my past colleagues because that is Google at its best. It's like, how do we
right,
simplify this down to the best possible UI, the simplest interface for the user in terms of like the least amount of gap between problem to solution. So that was kind of cool to see. And then it also did have their trademark conservatism in terms of like, let's not do anything that's risky. This thing can't possibly
right,
ever say anything that offends anyone.
right.
So therefore, it's going to make almost no one truly happy. But that's cool too. And I think they're the I think to sort of mixed reviews, they put that underlying tech into the Spotify Wrapped sort of underbelly. I
Oh,
know that they've given Notebook LM to
uh,
agencies and so on. So
that's
they're doing what they do best, which is let's show what's possible in a really simple, cool interface, and let's give that to technology to others to play with.
well, and it's opened up this whole different approach to it in the sense that, okay, I don't want the drive time radio output. I want this, you know what I mean? I want this tone. Or now you've got people thinking how they can use it. I just as an aside, I didn't try and break it, but I had done like 4 or 5 days of really good competitive global research on a specific vertical. And I had maybe, I don't know, like maybe 25, 30 pages of notes. And I put it into this was out of Perplexity, and then I took to Claude and made it friendlier, and then I took it to ChatGPT. So I didn't make a mess of it, but I was playing with a lot of tools at once at the time. So I ended up with maybe, I don't know, 50, 60 pages of text material research. And I threw it all at it, honestly, Fab. And the arc of the output was so concise. And it was just amazing to hear these kind of relatively cheesy voices actually do dramatic business recommendations and strategies that was very insightful right out of the gate.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I'll tell you what not to do because here's one of the things that I did. I took some meeting notes or from a presentation I had done and said, "Oh, I wonder if we can just quickly create a podcast that people who didn't attend the event can listen to as
Uh-huh.
well." But I made one error, which was put in my bio along with that. And because it's this like overly complimentary and just super
Uh,
cringy and cheesy, they're like, "Oh, Fab Dolan is amazing," and like he was the CMO of this. And then my team is listening to this and it's like, "We can't release this thing. Oh my God!" Like this is just so self-aggrandizing. And so I learned a powerful moment internally when we listened to that about like, "Oh yeah, yeah, humans in the loop. We can definitely never send this stuff," but in terms of the raw content, like of the actual event itself, same thing that your experience is like, this is makes it so much easier for someone to digest. And I think those are the cool AI experiences that really start to solve pain points that people have day to day, right? Like everybody has
yeah,
been faced with not enough time, too much content to consume, or more precisely, content in a way that's just not natural for them to learn that and internalize
right.
that, whether you're studying or preparing for a meeting or whatnot.
Yeah, I've talked to here in the community, we've talked to a lot of people who have taken approaches to either in their studies or their professional lives, learning things, changing information into a format they can digest in a different way, like going to 11 labs and creating a you know what I mean, just turning that information into differently digestible forms. And for one, I'm a relatively smart guy, but I've absorbed a lot of academic papers this year that I would have never, ever touched before or thought for that reason, because I either get in through the summary or find another way to, process it. All right. I'm also curious now, give me an example of your personal life. Like what is one AI tool or it's a serendipitous moment in your personal life with AI?
I don't know if serendipity is the thing, but so like again, like we grew up in a household with a dad who was a storyteller, and one of my fondest memories was as a as a kid, the three of us would listen to stories about the little cow, which was a stuffed animal that my dad bought my sister. And then I think probably just one day was just trying to get us to sleep and was like, all right, let me make a story about this little
Right.
cow. And it had his trademark sort of sense of humor and this whole, so I won't bring you into the little cow universe. But now being a dad of
Right.
two young kids, one of the things that I'm sort of working with is, I tell them stories as well. And like, so now being able to, on days when I'm kind of tired and think, okay, let's imagine something with my daughter and then can tell a story around that. And I don't know if this is, if she's going to love this or find it creepy, but I started working with 11 Labs and doing like clones of my voice
Right.
for work content, for podcasting and so on. And so one of the things that I'm starting to experiment with it is like, okay, can we now bring it even further? And so, okay, now I'm going to be able to, if I'm on the road or something like that, still tell her stories. And it's things that I've crafted and created, and it's in her universe, and it's all kind of catered to us. And it can even be my tone. I think that's like the sort of really interesting side of this technology that as long as you start with something authentic and genuine, it can take you to
Right.
really, really cool places. So that's one thing. I mean, in my personal life, I'm using it throughout like you've listed all the ones like Notebook, Perplexity. I bounce from Claude to Chat GPT most days, not as much Gemini. But that's just I think there's some first mover advantage there, and then Claude is just so good at most marketing writing
Yeah.
tasks that I often find
Yeah.
myself there. And then of course, like we work in our product for a lot of what we do.
Yeah, well, and also just, I mean, it's one thing today, it's another thing next week. Like even this morning, one of my to-do lists is, okay, Gemini 2 is out. I haven't looked at Gemini for a bit, and now it's multimodal and like boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? There's the speed of change. That's so endearing though, Fab, because back to the story, like it's you creating this for your daughter, but using all the right cool tools to do it in a way that gives you power and flexibility about it, which is, I think, really important for people to, understand and appreciate. Like I've run into just so much. Well, I mean, there's anxiety about job loss, but there's just this general kind of low-level anxiety you run into with AI, and I'm a very positive person about it, but sometimes you just run into very, kind of walls with people.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe this will be my hot take, and I will live to rue the day that I said this. But at least from the behavior change that I'm seeing, I don't know if I have as much of an immediate concern about job loss, or let's say
Yeah,
midterm concern.
yeah,
And part of it is that when I speak to marketing teams, when I speak to agencies who are using this, typically what the knee-jerk reaction is with the technology is do more with less. So now my
yeah,
team can do 10x more content. But let's just take like marketer X and marketer Y. Marketer X is leading a team and says, oh, we can create 10 times more content. So I'm going to get rid of a whole bunch of my team. The other marketer says, I can create 10 times more content, more ads, more events, more videos, what have you. I'm going to just go out and win more business. I think that the interesting thing about marketing is that the demand is not static, right? So
right.
the demand that we all have for growth and for profit and revenue and so on will always exceed what we're able to do.
Yeah.
So typically, what we're seeing is that everybody's ramping up their content. I think that has a very, very bad outcome for us as an industry, but at least from a job perspective, I think that we're all just going to be doing more, which is not necessarily a good thing. But that's usually what we're seeing right now is not as much this impulse to let me get rid of my whole team, but instead, oh, my whole team can do way more. Let's move forward with that.
Yeah, and automating, like you said, automating just for more content. Like, I've seen the word slop used, in this world, and
Yeah.
I hear you with that. And I was just on your website, and it was like, look, we don't need automation just for automation's sake here. That it's about doing a better job. It's about, if you're going to do more marketing, either grow your customer base or get new customers or reduce churn, or you know what I mean. Don't just do more to do more, right? And keep the human focused strategy on it the whole time.
Yeah, and I think that that's the most insidious or troublesome part of this technology is that it has this veneer of polish
Right.
and that, that you can ship something because it looks like a blog about X and it's
Yeah, yeah.
that feels like a tagline. Okay, cool. Let's put it into the world, and you can trick yourself into this state of just getting the task checked off your to-do list
Right.
and shipping the content and so on, as opposed to continuing to stay in that mindset of a marketer that looks for impact, results, and so on. And so I think that is the tricky bit and the thing that we worry about a lot, and frankly why we're trying as much as we can to not build technology that addresses activation or execution of marketing. So said otherwise, we're trying to build AI that has nothing to do with building an ad, has nothing to do with writing the final copy, making
Right.
the video, etc. We're trying to place AI in all of the upfront strategic work so that humans who are involved can clarify their thinking and get closer to what
Yeah.
they know and believe will drive impact. And then sure, if you want to automate the actual ad creation, the activation, all that kind of stuff, that's good too. But I think that's why you need this balance and sort of keep everybody in the mindset of what really matters.
And it has to be on strategy overall. For the right business concerns. I saw there was a great example. I think it was McLaren. And you can botch this up in any way, but they did customized content for like 5,000, a bakery chain of like 5,000 locations. And I love creative. I was at creative agencies for a long time. And to see like 5,300 executions of social content and actual posters and signage for the stores generated, but really exquisitely done. But the case study was fascinating because it took a lot of smart humans to actually pull this off. It wasn't just sheer horsepower of the AI either.
So it worked. I didn't see that one. So
I
you're
know
saying
they
it
took,
drove
it was
results?
funny. They took the case study down. So I don't think that some powers that be weren't happy with sharing it, but I sat through a whole webinar of the case study and then poof, it vanished. So I think the client
Yeah.
wanted it gone.
Well,
What?
and oh, sorry. I was
No,
just
go
going to say, like,
ahead.
I think that that type of experimentation is cool. Like, everybody should do something like that at some point,
Right.
and then reflect on it and see. It's funny though, like it's funny that you mentioned sort of the thousands of headlines because typically, when I look back on my career, at least every time that I failed, and look, I was leading marketing for Android, so we failed more than we succeeded. And there are very few campaigns that we look back and say, oh, but if we just had 10,000 headlines,
Right.
that would have solved it. It's usually a strategic problem that was at the core of it. Like we were pressed for time, so we couldn't do the proper research. We couldn't get stakeholder alignment. The CRO disagreed with the CFO, with the CMO, et cetera. Like it's all of these upfront challenges, like the good brief that not everybody has the same mental model for what we're going to
Right.
execute. And so we didn't get through a full mood boarding exercise. These are all the things that break things campaigns down, versioning into sort of all the different locales and tactics. It's not so much about the thousands and thousands of things. And like the other thing that I've never worked in agencies, but we've been talking to agencies every day, especially those who are looking at AI for automation, those who are being pressured by their clients to use AI and get efficiencies. And someone said something to me that really stuck with me, which is, it's funny, clients always think that like versioning costs a lot of money. It's the strategy that costs a lot of
Yeah.
money. And it's really, really cheap to take a very good strategy and now just distribute that across channels, platforms. Like you're in flow at that at state, and you're
Right,
either literally versioning something into a different size, or you're just reimagining it to be appropriate for that channel. But you've got this core, crisp, strategic idea, and so then you're off to the races. And so, like they were kind of making the points. Like I love when clients say there's like 20 different versions of something because the client thinks that, oh, I've got to pay them way more for this because there's a lot of
right.
content there. But in reality, they know that's the same strategic workload, but now I actually get to amortize that across more things. And so I think that that should be instructive to every CMO. Like your agencies know that like the rush to automate, you're going after what is by definition the lowest margin part of
Right.
the problem. It's the part of the or the workflow. It's the part of the workflow that in theory you've done all the difficult thinking and put all the building blocks in
Yeah.
place and made all the big budget decisions and so on. So yes, automate that if that can be more efficient because every dollar, every minute counts. But you should be thinking equally about the stuff that's up front.
Yes, I totally hear you, and I've talked to a number of agency presidents here on the site in these exact same interviews, and it was fascinating over the year to see to talk to maybe half a dozen in the ways that AI is coming into their agency workflows, but also from the client side who's thinking, oh, well, don't use it at all the way to like, can I cut my rate? You know, can we cut our AOR because you're using AI? But to your point, and this goes back to the importance of the human in this actually in the long run, is do better competitive analysis. Do look at the business processes you have existing. What if you're going to automate? Maybe it's automating contract writing or something, which is would take up let someone do a better job on the account side. The stuff that might seem mundane, but is actually just you're just pushing paper around. And that requires champions within these organizations. And I think you're still seeing that, I'm sure, in your day to day as AI works its way around the business world in all sizes and all verticals. You know, who's the internal champions? Who knows what the hell they're talking about, or all the way to some crazy woman who in billing who says we can't use anything at all still. So it's a fascinating time. It really is. I know it sounds cliche, but it is an amazing time to be alive if you're in this world and seeing these changes coming fast. What do you fear the most about in the next short, just I mean, you've already kind of said it about automation, but what societal impacts are you worried about?
Well, okay. Let
Little
me give you the
heavy, I
marketing
know.
one. Just to like, I'll start with the marketing one just to dip my toe in the water, which is, yeah, just to underline it. I think that we're rushing to automate and
Yeah,
forgetting the plot a little bit, that it's about impact. And so hopefully we will have a shift back to that as we get through sort of the initial hype cycle of
yeah,
AI. And I think the way through that is to your point about it being a democratized tool and anybody can sort of play in that space. I think that's the real key to very successful AI projects internally, at least, is that the people who actually touch the metal, so to
yeah,
speak, and are working on it are involved in building AI. Most of the projects that we've had access to with larger organizations, when it's done in a central team, even if it's led by someone who once upon a time used to be a frontline marketer, but now is in an operations role across many hundreds or thousands of people, they start to lose touch with what the day to day is. And if you don't have access to those individuals who are actually doing the work, you lose the real automation opportunities and you start to skip steps. And so think that you can just easy button your way through an exercise and
right,
say, oh, okay, boom, I have a brief, boom, I have an ad. And realizing that like if you talk to a strategist, they'll tell you, look, there's a lot of my work that is chores. I'm shopping for groceries more than I am being an excellent chef. And it's actually
right,
this research cycle here that's really, really difficult. Or
yeah,
it's the fact that my CMO or client can't give me a crystal clear business challenge. It's not the
mhm,
actual drafting of the brief, it's these other things. And so if you're closer to them, then you're better off. And then if you are those people, I think that's your opportunity, is that you actually have more authority to speak about what
Right.
AI should be built. And I think that's a really important thing. Societally, I think I'm afraid of the same things that everyone else is afraid of. Like I've got a couple of young kids, and I think that we have dabbled in an era where truth is relative,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to sort of know what sort of the base reality is. And I think we're just going to go full on into that future with there's a lot of good things that can come from this technology. The average small business can now do as much
Yeah.
work as most large companies would even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, et cetera. And so there's tremendous potential there. There's tremendous potential to hyper personalized education. You're doing this. Like the flip side is that the sort of algorithmic rabbit holes that we've been in the past, I think will only start to be more and more sort of enhanced, and I truly worry about that. I don't come with solutions, but
Right.
the hope that the more that this becomes a technology that is widely talked about, and not just in the context of some broader sort of hype cycle and Silicon Valley sort of materialistic dream, then these can be conversations that are actually discussed and sort of contributed to by many. You had I don't know if this is have you published the Alana conversation yet, or is it am I just plugging a thing that's coming?
No, we're doing it, but yes, I know your example. Go ahead. Yes.
So, like the work that she's doing at Human Feedback Foundation, AI for All, there's so many of these good organizations that
Yeah.
continue to recognize and see that the we're we're right to sort of sprint ahead and use this technology for all its potential in all these ways, but we can't forget that it is still limited. It still doesn't have the voices and perspectives of everyone, and that's not just globally. That's within our North American environment, within the industry. So I think we have a long way to go. So I think exuberance is going to, have the best of us for a little bit, and we're going to
Yeah.
constantly have to gut check. But hopefully, we've learned enough from Web 1.0 through 3.0 to
Yeah.
start to be more on the lookout for these things, and I think we see that a little bit where there's a lot less sort of the blind optimism about
Yeah.
a new technology that even when I started at Google. I think it was just mostly cheerleading for sort of anything that tech companies could bring to us as
Right.
consumers and anything that they can do sort of economically.
Well, and back to the Human Feedback Federation, and also I've joined AIGS, and I'm trying to get involved with, organizations where lay people, and again, I think this rolls up to our political climate and our leadership politically. They're having troubles getting the subway running. So to have
Yeah.
this AI tidal wave crashing over just kind of when we need it in many ways, we need responsible leadership. But I think the way we get there is people like Elena or people like trying to do things for the human good overall. And that's a really important step here that it's to your point, we can't just focus on the finance bros getting their check, in Silicon Valley, even though that's going to happen. These tools should be working for all of us at a base level too.
And individually. So
Yes.
let me offer, yeah, I know I just offered a big problem and no solutions. I think there is one um, philosophical shift that we can make when building AI going forward. And something that we think about a lot at work is the difference between task-based AI and like that's more focused on productivity and sort of this easy button world and perspective-driven AI. And so like most, let's stay in our domain, marketing. So most marketing AI, and so if you're just listening, I'm holding up a Samsung flip phone. You can take me out of Google, but you get, yeah. So you will still get an ad as part of this podcast. But like, so most AI today, or like at least the early generation of marketing AI, would look at this phone and say, okay, this is the brand. This is the operating system. We're creating derivatives off of this.
Right.
Push the easy button, get an ad. Push the easy button, get a blog. Push the easy button, get what have you. Like, and it puts the user or the marketer or the agency strategist, the creative, as just a button pusher. And
Right.
it actually devalues you and your contribution. And I think I'm going to say this with a lot of authority as a marketer, but I'm sure it's true of all verticals, all human endeavors, is that marketing is a team sport. It's about the collision of perspectives. It's often not about a single right answer. It's about the right answer that your team can agree is the right answer and then
Right.
execute with excellence consistently. And so I think one of the things that we can start to nudge, even within sort of the AI that your team is building or your team is buying, is to say, I want more perspective driven AI. And by that, I mean, AI that recognizes that no, the brand is the task, the campaign is what we're
Yeah.
doing. The AI should be enabling my perspective. And it might be an
Right.
archetypal perspective, like I'm a creative or I'm a strategist or I'm a chief financial officer. But ideally, it's even more personalized and more nuanced to say, no, like
Hmm.
I'm a media planner who is a Byron Sharp disciple, and
Right.
I believe everything that he's ever written, and so on and so forth. And I think to the extent that we can push this technology to value our human perspective and bring that
Yeah.
together in interesting ways, then we are more likely to end up with better AI outcomes for everybody because we still recognize that it's not even just about humans in the loop, it's that humans in the ethos is the most important part to getting good outcomes from this technology, whether it's as a marketer or as a society.
Wonderful. And to that point, when I talk to people learning AI or new to AI, I always show them the customization details on ChatGPT, where a lot of people don't even touch that. And it's so foolish. Mine reads like a very sad soap opera, but it's got so many details of my life in it that yes, you can turn it on and turn it off and everything, but so many people don't know about it. But I've gotten to the point now because I've been researching and testing now for quite aggressively on my own that the outputs, I can see the nuance of the outputs from the models. And now, even recently, I used the reasoning model, the O1 model, and I could see it
Mhm.
thinking on my behalf. Now, yes, it's conjecture on my part too, but not really, because the output was even structured in a way that aligned with my what it knows about me.
Yes, and that is pretty consistent. I think that data would bear this out, that the power users of this technology are the ones who've taken that extra half step to see
Yeah,
how it might work in a slightly more customized way. So I think there's a lot of work to be done on the part of ChatGPT. GPT was down this week, and I think Claude got a lot of new users who now couldn't really navigate their interface as well, even though I think under the hood for most users, for most creative and writing tasks, it's actually the better AI to be using. I still haven't
yeah,
tested 2.0 Gemini, so like maybe that's the new LLM du jour. But I think there's still a lot of work to be done to make sure that like the next generation that is beyond just the initial explorers, pioneers, like the early
yeah,
adopters can really access this. But I think that's what we've seen too. Like my co-founder was leading a lot of AI development at Google and pretty consistently saw that if you were giving people AI automation, that they knew that it was an AI and it wasn't sort of born of them, of their technology, of
yes,
their thinking, the way of working, like all that kind of stuff. There was an immune reaction to that. And so some of that maybe is unfounded and just like, hey, not built here sort of syndrome. But then the second that you got it to think in ways that were more aligned to the ways that people work, and in our space, when we're talking about marketing strategy, that could be something like it's archetypal. You are a chief strategy officer, or it might be how you think about briefs. Like I had early on a strategist tell me when I read a brief, I first scan for the word and the word secondary. And heaven forbid I see the word tertiary. And what they're doing is
yeah,
like calibrating their own brain to say, what am I doing? with this document? What's the exercise? What's the
Right.
altitude that I'm coming in? I'm not even going to waste brain power on ideating off of this thing if I haven't cleaned up the thinking first and the sort of like the foundation for the logic within. And so these are the kinds of things that are quite often rooted in language that quite often you can teach a custom
Yeah.
GPT, a Claude project, and a sort of more advanced AI system to start interacting in those ways. And then, yes, it's not a perfect representation of your brain. You are far more complex, but boy, is it good as a first pass on many of the things that you would want done. And then all of a sudden, it might be that delightful experience that you want.
Yeah, and it's another layer of interaction with these tools, and as they get better and better, and as they understand us more and more, the more you're thinking that way as an assistant or an agent, agentic kind of approach, the better you'll get in the long run. All right, well, Fab, we've been gabbing long enough. Now we have the most important question of these. We've asked these of everyone, Liz and I, that we've done. We've done about 40 now, and it's always been funny because I don't think we've ever had a repeat, but what is the best Fab Dolan, what is the best sandwich?
I was so nervous about this question because I don't, you previewed some of the questions, of course. And so I don't know if this is a sandwich, but I married into a Greek family, and that
Yeah.
is a wonderful, wonderful thing from a culinary perspective. Yeah, well, sorry. To be clear, it's wonderful from a lot of perspectives. Today's actually my
Yes.
anniversary, so let me be definitive. It's wonderful from a lot of perspectives. One of the cool ones is the food, and so I don't know if a gyro counts
Yeah.
as a sandwich. Like I know it's
Yeah.
a more of a wrap, but I would go with that sort of any day of the week.
Well, and when they're good, I don't know if you know this. I used to work in Midtown Manhattan, and I can't remember the block. It doesn't matter. It was like 52 or 53 on Avenue of the Americas. There is a famous shawarma cart that
Yeah.
like that. I mean, just super famous. And it just happened. There was a TikTok. I'm quite a sad TikTok doom scroller in my old age, but nevertheless. There was a TikTok of this of people eating gyros, heroes. Like the line was around the city block in Manhattan. So it was you're not
Good.
alone.
I'm in good company then. Yeah, like
Yes,
it's
yes, you
absolutely
are.
delicious. Well, and get your TikTok fill in for as long as as long as you can.
My father turned 88, and when I was last in Florida in October, I went to see him in October. I go down every couple months because all my family's down there, and I'm going on Tuesday, and it'll be nice because the weather's gotten, as you know, the weather's turned here finally. But I put TikTok on his phone. I asked him if he wanted TikTok on his phone. He's on Instagram, like he's quite adept at social media. And I called him the other morning, and I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I'm just down by I parked down by the waterfront. He lives by the ocean, and I'm just scrolling on TikTok." And I thought to myself, I've created another 88-year-old TikTok doom scroller, but my father's a TikTok fan too, so he was
Well,
upset if they're trying to ban it. I don't think they're going to ban it, but who knows at this point.
I mean, there's so much money involved. Someone will find a way for it to somehow be in someone else's hands economically at the very
Yeah.
least, and I have a feeling it will continue. And I can also say with good authority that although it's not absolutely the same, I'm sure the diehards will swear by the TikTok algorithm, but I'm pretty sure that YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels are just as addictive.
Yes, yes, yes. I think just the momentum goes hither and yon. All right, Fab. Thanks so much. I'm going to stop the recording now.